Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dhammaya. Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dhammaya. Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dhammaya. Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. Meditation on stillness of the body. Come to a comfortable position, straight back. Legs can be under you or half or full cross-legged. Sit in a chair on the edge of the bed. Don't do this while driving. Come to stillness of the body. Allow your eyes to be at half opening. Pull the gaze back from the point in front of you about halfway into the space between you and the object. Notice the stillness. Notice coming to stillness. Stillness is the aspect of stillness always is. We pause and come to touch that. Silence of the voice. We simply notice the breath, energy, notice the stillness of our thoughts, our words. Let it rest. Resting not in a state of passing out, going to sleep, becoming unconscious, disconnecting, distracting, but more of a yoga nidra or a calm, spacious awareness. A coming to awareness without losing consciousness. Notice the stillness of the voice. Spaciousness of the mind. It's nice if there's a blue sky or a scene of you. If not, the space between you and it, the objects before you, whatever that might be, the wall. Spaciousness of the mind. And we have the three aspects: stillness of the body, silence of the voice, spaciousness of the mind. Regardless of whatever cacophony, chaos, external or internal events occur, they arise and fall. Everything is impermanent, no matter how permanent it seems to be. Teachings of the Buddha. Have a nice deep inhale. Fill it up. Open the heart, open the throat. Release. Pause empty. Breathe in, fill it up. Hold. Fill up more. Open the throat. Let go. Pause empty. Inhale, bring it in. Fill it up and hold. Open throat. Exhale, release, and pause. Darren Littlejohn here. Welcome to episode 47 of the 12-Step Buddhist Podcast. 100,000 words, and practices of the Bodhisattva, number 5. Well, when we look at the podcast log here, February 17th was my last entry. And sorry about that, because I really was into doing these weekly, and I'm back, and we will be doing these weekly now. And it's just been a fantastic, an intense ride since then. Since the beginning of this year, I've been writing, hence no podcast. Writing and writing and writing and writing and writing. And I just realized this, I've produced over 100,000 words this year. About 20,000 or so, about 20,000 or so in the 12-Step Buddhist 10-year anniversary edition. That will be released. That's done. The cover's done. The blurbs are done. I got great endorsements, and all the editing is done. It's gone to press, actually. And that will be released November 19th. Pre-order that. That would be awesome, because it pushes things up in the Amazon rankings. I'm going to give you a link which goes directly to it if you want to jot this down. Or if you use Bitly, you can just remember it's http://bit.ly/Buddhist10. That's BUDDHIST 10. Bitly Buddhist 10. Or you can just type it into Amazon. New cover, new information, new material, updates on my story, updates on the research, what we've learned, updates on what's happened in recovery, what the movements are. As much as I could squeeze into that one, it was already added a lot of content, so we can't have the thing be 6 inches thick. So did as much as I could in that to get you caught up and updated. And like I said, that was about 20,000 words. I'm just trying to remember back. It was 10 years ago plus, and I remember I turned in 120,000 words the first time, and they said, "Hey, your contract says 90,000." So I spent several weeks editing. That was kind of one of my first experiences in really learning how to trim down my words and my thoughts. Well, I've been working on that for over a decade, especially with social media and shortened attention spans and so forth. It's important to say more with less. So this one, anniversary edition, is pretty cool. I mean, a lot has changed. Taisa said to me, she goes, that 12-Step Buddhist book was your letter to yourself from the future. I had to go back through it and go, wow, I'm going to apply stuff here, going to learn stuff. So a lot has happened and a lot has changed. So I hope that you enjoy that. The second piece, and I'll say just on the writing process of the 10-year anniversary edition, I got sick. I mean, unfortunately, the publisher forgot to tell me that it was actually due in November. They just didn't communicate. So they got a note saying, well, it was due a month ago or something. I'm like, what? So I was, stressing. They're like, well, how soon can you get it done? I'm like, oh my God. So it was the holidays and so on and so forth. I got sick as fuck. Not as sick as last year, where I was that was the worst flu I've ever experienced in my life. But I did this one while sick, and it's just so weird. If you've ever, I remember going back to playing jazz for years in the, pizza parlors and bars and coffee shops. And I remember, some days you go out to the gig and you're really feeling like shit, or you're really sick, you're really kind of coming down with it or whatever, and somehow you play better. It's so interesting. It's like You play better when your guard's down. You're just like raw. You're just dumping it out there, just putting it out. Well, anyways, that's kind of how it was for this. And I mean, it was brutal. Like, I had to get up out of bed, crawl to the computer, write for 5 minutes, lay down. Well, what I've since learned, because I just did that, and that was just an update for the 10-year anniversary edition of the 12-Step Buddhist. That was an update. Compassionate recovery, however, it was starting from a blank page. And wow, I've learned I have this really kind of weirdo process. Like, it's like mental. I mean, I start and stop like 100 times. I start and stop like a crazy man. I'll get up, come to my writing table with my coffee and do my meditation. It takes me about 40 minutes to decide I'm ready. It's on and on like this. I'll write, I'll get the document open, I'll look at it, and then I'll go, I have to go walk outside for a minute. I come back, look at the computer, and it's like that. It just keeps going. Write a little bit, find something, research something, read something. Well, it's weird, but I guess it's my process, because I do produce, this was the 9th book. I do produce content. And I did produce 100,000 words this year. And that's rounding down, because I do a lot of research, and there's no point in me rewriting what, smart people have already said. So sometimes I bring in a few paragraphs or something of a section of a talk or a book or a slide deck or something, or a blog article or something like that. And I'll bring that in and I'll kind of cut and paste that in. But, so those aren't my original words, but then I have commentary on that and the reasons why I brought it to you and why it's important and where you can find out more and all that kind of stuff. So, I don't know, there might be 3, 4, 5,000 words worth of that in there, but I rounded down just to account for that. So I'm pretty confident that I can say 100,000 original words. And wow. That's significant from where I was even a year ago. And people, I hate to harp on this, but, people I don't know if anyone understands this. It's a little bit like, if you're not an addict, it's pretty hard to understand what it's like to be an addict. I mean, people look at you like, what the fuck? Just stop. What are you doing? And you're like, in your worldview, there nothing makes more sense than to get the next fix, the next pill, the next drink, the next, activity of addiction, And it's kind of similar with this like relationship with the malignant narcissist thing, with being involved and enmeshed with someone with a borderline personality and an agenda to destroy you. The trick is, and this is the most bizarre aspect of this, is that you're punished if you're in a relationship with one of these people. You are punished for loving them. So the worse they get, the more patient you try to get, the more loving you try to get, or maybe you throw a tantrum and then they record you and tell everybody what a maniac you are, or whatever. And then, or you're trying to be patient, you're trying to be loving, and the more you give, the more they hate you. That's the disorder. There are books written on this. I've studied it extensively. It's kind of a life pattern for me. I grew up with it, so that's why it's part of what's natural for me. Anyways, that situation just almost killed me. Really almost killed me. I stayed sober. Let's see, right now, 22 and a half years. But man, it scrambled my brain. And as I sat down to write the first one, because I wrote 4 books last summer, shorter ebooks. I redid the Perfect Practice book, redid that from start to finish, put a new cover on it. You can get that on Amazon. The Yoga of Self-Compassion, the Yoga of Letting Go, which is about grief and loss. That was very, very informative for me to do. Self-Compassion also, that was an introduction to it. I've gotten much deeper into it since then. And then How to Find a Spiritual Teacher. I wrote that one for people who have no clue what it even means to find a spiritual teacher. And you followed, what did that lady say in my Uber yesterday? Shitbirds. I think she was a military person. If you're a shitbird, You follow shitbirds instead of real teachers, then you're, garbage in, garbage out, people. You gotta know. Did you see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? The people in the Charles Manson family fucking believed him. The ones that are still alive still believe him. He believed himself till he died. Squeaky Fromm, I think she's dead now. Man, you can believe some bullshit. So be careful. Anyways, I wrote those books, and this is a different level. When you have a publisher and you have an editing staff, and they know you and they know your words, and they put these things out all day, every day. It's what they do. They know how to craft a message. They know how to, make it shine. And it's a healthy, good process for a writer, especially someone who's like coming from a kind of a fucked up place. I was like, wow, I don't even know if I have the ability to think straight anymore, let alone like share with anyone else, But I do, and I did, and we did that process, and that part came out. But then the next level of the Compassionate Recovery book, well, this one was marked for 80,000 words. That's the contract. And I had 0 words. So I started from scratch, and wow, talk about, that was a process. Trying to reinvent recovery. It's, I don't have time to get into this one because we want to keep the podcast short, but I'm going to be talking about it. And I've been talking about it a little bit, but the ideas are concrete now. And they're solid, and they're on paper, so to speak, digital paper. And there's a lot. It's really big. There's a lot, and it's going to be monumental. It's the most important work that I've done, and my voice is clear. My writing is pretty clear, and things are more simplified. So we'll see how that goes. But we have an editing process to go through over the next 6 or 8 months on that one. Kind of go back and forth and fine tune it. Make sure that message is the best message for you that it can be, because it's for you, and it's a service to offer to the recovery community, the recovering community, to treatment professionals and providers and friends and family and so forth, just like the 12-step Buddhist, just like everything I try to do. Anyways, so 100,000 words, going from being just super mental and confused and in excruciating pain, to come into this place of strength and power after years of hard work in the yoga room, sweating profusely, doing push-ups and chaturangas and lifting weights and getting cardio, and I went to conferences all year, and I gave presentations at conferences, and been giving talks and doing webinars, and are talking to treatment professionals about these ideas. And wow, I've got a lot to say about that, and there's going to be more to come. But just wanted to kind of draw that parallel between being like, it's like when you're not sober yet and everything is fucked, like your whole world is just destroyed. There's like nothing left of you, if your addiction goes to that level, and then you try to get clean and sober, and you're like, it's such a mess. You don't even know how you're going to even proceed. All the legacy of your actions and your experiences are like pouring down on your head, So it's a new. You build new. You build from scratch, and then you start over, and you look back years later and go, wow. I mean, what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. Amazing. Well, I better get to this practices of the Bodhisattva. There's 37 of them, and I'm picking this up where we left off. Well, last time on episode 46 was practice number 4. This is practice number 5, which I will read to you now. When friendship with someone causes the 3 poisons to increase, degrades the activities of listening, reflecting, and meditating, and destroys loving kindness and compassion, to give up such a friendship is the practice of a bodhisattva. So again, for those who aren't familiar, the term Bodhisattva has different meanings. It can mean a person who's basically trying to be a better person, trying to practice the teachings and principles of Buddhism, mainly compassion. It can also mean a guru who intentionally returns to the human form and continues to return to the human form, the realm of suffering, as we say, samsara, or the desire realm, as it's called in some texts. They keep coming back to help us, to give teachings, and to, instruct us on our minds and how to liberate ourselves from suffering and how to stop making ourselves suffer. That's another level of Bodhisattva. And there are what are called the 10 grounds of the Bodhisattva. So there's a lot to talk about, and there's a lot written on all this. But these practices that we're going through, just from a little booklet that a Tibetan master gave me. When friendship causes the 3 poisons, and the 3 poisons, if you recall, attachment, aversion, and ignorance. Attachment to anything that we think is going to fix us. Attachment going from the level of healthy, secure attachment, if you had that as a child, to the different attachment styles of avoidant or anxious attachment. We're going to get into that later. I've got a training actually coming up that you can send me an email if you're interested in that, darrenblittlejohn@gmail.com. But I just did a good talk on this the other day. So the lead-in of attachment is, there's healthy attachment and the sort of thwarted attachment. And then aversion is the stuff that we push away, we're repulsed by, and that is also a poison, and because it's not the truth. And then there's the ignorance, which is the lack of awareness of our real nature. So we have this, spacious mind, and this, mind connected to all Buddhas, this nature, which is the same nature as all Buddhas, which we're ignorant of. So to the extent that we're attached or repulsed, attached or repulsed, or ignorant, then those are the 3 poisons. So when you're hanging out with somebody who makes those things worse, get out. If the relationship degrades the activities, this is assuming you want to be a practitioner. And these days I don't even try to really talk Buddhism, because honestly there are very few people that are ready for Buddhism, and there are so many different kinds of Buddhism that most people really don't have any idea. So if we just kind of put it into a basic principles style format, like what are the principles, say meditation, say mindfulness, listening. So listening to teachings, listening carefully, listening to the beating of your own heart, listening to your soul, listening to your dreams, listening to the natural sounds, listening to the 5 elements, listening to your sensory input without being hooked and conditioned by it. Reflecting. So, hey, like we're doing now, this is a meditation. We're talking about these things. We're thinking about considering, really considering, with discernment, with curiosity, and with wisdom. Not impulse and fear and panic and fight or flight or freeze. Reflecting from a calm state. And meditating. So there's a whole, decades you could go on your meditation trip and talk about what the different kinds and ways are, and there's lots and lots of those in these books that I'm putting out. So just to meditate like we did at the beginning, stillness of the body, silence of the voice, spaciousness of the mind. So when this relationship destroys loving kindness and compassion, note it doesn't say how. It could be because you hate that person at times. It could be because you hate yourself. It could be because you feel like you're not loved by that person. They're not being kind to you or compassionate to you. However, the relationship destroys loving kindness and compassion. If it's doing that, get out. To give up such a friendship is the practice. Notice the practice, not the perfection. It's the practice of a bodhisattva. So we're not trying to be saints here. And also, but don't use that as a lame excuse, like, well, it's just a practice. I don't have to really try very hard. Well, I don't know, because, like, how hard are you going to try? But you kind of got to get the balance between putting in a lot of effort and letting go and being, like, I picked up the guitar again after quite some time. I tuned it to an open tuning, and I'm playing, and I try to play something, and I go, well, that feels good. I like, what is that? And I like try to do it, and then I go, wow, I can't do that very fast. And I got to really slow it down. And I got to really practice it until it becomes fluid and natural. So am I going to be lazy or have low self-esteem or be shame-based and be like, oh, I can't do it. It doesn't work. Like, I can't do relationships. They don't work. Or I can't do whatever, Or do I just keep practicing? Like, hey, it's kind of like the attitude of diligence, or vigilance, right? You keep returning to the present moment in your meditation. You keep returning to the technique that you're trying to, sharpen, the skill you're trying to acquire and develop. You keep coming back, keep coming back, keep coming back. You keep trying, but you're not trying with that compulsive driven, like, if I don't do this, I'm invalid. Like addicts can have this, at least, I don't know, I do. You're doing it from this heart of, hey, I'm committed to the work. I'm committed to the work, and it's not half measures, It's not, as my ex-father-in-law used to say, close enough for the girls we know. So, work hard. Try to make it good. Maybe come to a point of satisfaction at the end of each session. Like, I know I didn't quite get it, but okay, that was good. That was a good session. It's like a yoga class. It's like some days I kill it. I'm like, bam, bam, bam. I'm like executing. My energy's good. Mindful and present. I'm not distracted. Other days I'm a sobbing mess. I'm like, blah, all over the mat. Sweating. I'm like, oh my God. Where the fuck is my energy? Hey, so being mindful of these things in that awareness space, stillness of the body, silence of the voice, spaciousness of the mind. Okay, that's episode 47. I'm at 27 minutes, and there are a lot of topics I didn't even begin to touch on. So good news. The good news is there are more podcasts that I'm going to be doing regularly. You can send me an email, darrenblittlejohn@gmail.com. You can go to the12stepbuddhist.com. You can go to compassionaterecovery.net. But go pre-order at bit.ly/Buddhist10. Pre-order, please. The 12-Step Buddhist 10-year anniversary edition. That's really going to be awesome if there's 20,000 pre-orders by the time the thing comes out November 23rd. Amazon will push it up and it will get out there, because it's really, really hard to get through with the massive amount of overwhelming information on the internet. So we need to kind of help each other collaborate a little bit to get the message out. Anyways, it is all good, everybody. I'm clean and sober, coming up on 22 years in December. And although there's plenty more to talk about, which we will get into, but until then, peace out and namaste. Darren Littlejohn signing off.